This is a handsome gang boss, but he is incredibly ruthless in his dealings. He brought 2 henchmen with him to form the Black Dragon Gang. What was originally a 100 million won loan turned into 200 million in the time it took him to smoke a cigarette. The man, beaten black and blue, asked Jang Chen if he could make it a bit cheaper. Unexpectedly, Jang Chen showed great mercy and actually agreed, but the price was 10 million one-off per arm. With all 4 limbs smashed, he would only need to pay back 160 million. He even thought this idea was quite excellent, and he would never let the people who owed him money die, because he hadn't completely squeezed them dry yet. Jang Chen is one of the most arrogant villains in Korean crime movies, so who exactly can deal with him? In a residential area in Seoul, a wretched-looking man was running frantically, seemingly escaping someone's pursuit. He had just turned into a small alley when he was sent flying out by a punch. A burly man walked up to him, panting heavily. This police officer named Seokdo chased him for a full 5 streets. He just wanted to pull the other guy up, but unexpectedly, the man suddenly pulled out a dagger. But Seokdo, known as the monster detective, didn't take it seriously at all. Taking advantage of the moment the opponent stabbed forward, he knocked him out with a single punch. The man was taken back to the police station. He was caught because he stabbed a thug from the Venom Gang. Seokdo already knew he was a member of the Cobra Gang and wanted him to reveal the mastermind sooner rather than later, but the man wouldn't crack. Dealing with this kind of tight-lipped tough guy, Seokdo had a special trick. He put a motorcycle helmet on the man and took him to a small room in the corner. To avoid trouble, his colleague skillfully closed the door so the camera wouldn't capture it. After some time, the man became completely honest and groggily confessed everything. It turned out that their boss had it in for the Venom Gang, so he deliberately went out of his way to cause trouble for them. Seokdo then took his colleagues from the Major Crimes Unit to the Cobra Gang's mahjong parlor. A man tried to stop Seokdo from going to see their boss, but Seokdo slammed him to the ground with a single strike, scaring the nearby underlings so badly that none of them dared to move. Seokdo entered the innermost office. There was no one in the room, but instant noodles were cooking on the coffee table. He smashed his fist onto the desk, knocking the Cobra Gang boss out from under it. This bald man was named Yi-soo, an old acquaintance of Seokdo. The moment he saw Seokdo, his head started to ache, because Seokdo had a habit whenever he dealt with him. Yi-soo immediately behaved himself. He was taken directly by Seokdo to meet Sung-tae, the boss of the Venom Gang. As a police officer maintaining local public order, Seokdo naturally didn't want to see the district he managed turn into a mess, so he made the bosses of the 2 gangs shake hands and make peace. Although the 2 bosses wanted to fight as soon as they saw each other, under the threat of Seokdo's force, they had to force a smile and shake hands. But Seokdo wasn't satisfied. He insisted on taking a commemorative photo of the 2. Looking at the faces of Yi-soo and Sung-tae hugging each other, looking worse than if they were crying, Seokdo was very satisfied. He even left a photo for each of them to look at every day. Just as a depressed Sung-tae managed to send away the terrifying Seokdo, he received a phone call. His subordinate had been kidnapped. Sung-tae drove his men to the location, only to see Jang Chen and his 2 men. It turned out the person whose hand was smashed by Jang Chen earlier was Sung-tae's subordinate. Seeing his subordinate's hand mashed to a pulp, Sung-tae kicked over the table in front of Jang Chen in anger. Jang Chen took the IOU from his pocket. Since the subordinate couldn't pay, the big brother would have to pay. As the boss of the Venom Gang, Sung-tae was used to collecting money from others. He never expected someone would dare collect from him. He spat on the ground, completely disregarding the 3 strangers before him. He figured these arrogant punks probably still had no idea who he really was. Sung-tae never expected these men would be so vicious and cruel. The Jang Chen before him was simply a mad dog, stabbing desperately into Sung-tae's stomach with a small knife. This frightened the Venom Gang members present out of their wits. They could never have imagined their boss would be stabbed to death in just a few dozen seconds. With blood on his face, Jang Chen looked around the circle. No one dared to resist. This man easily took over the entire Venom Gang. On the other side of town that evening, Seokdo went to Boss Hwang's KTV. Boss Hwang was good at handling people and always treated Seokdo like a big brother, entertaining him with beautiful women, fine wine, and good food every time. Seokdo initially pretended to be reserved, stating he hadn't got off work yet and getting up to leave. But when the manager suddenly brought in 3 beautiful women, Seokdo's face flushed red, and his tone changed immediately. Just as Seokdo was happily drinking with the beauties, the 3 wolves who had just risen to power walked into the hallway outside. Jang Chen and his 2 lackeys had also come here to have fun. Seokdo, who had fallen asleep on the sofa, was shaken awake by a hostess. She told him something big had happened and there were many police outside. Groggily, Seokdo opened the door a crack and saw the hallway full of his colleagues. It seemed something had indeed happened. Seokdo checked his phone and found a lot of missed calls. He quickly dressed, and while no one was looking, sneaked into the hallway. running right into a colleague searching for him. The colleague was baffled, not knowing where Seokdo had popped out from. Seokdo arrived at the private room where the incident occurred. It was a mess, with bloodstains everywhere. Through the hostess's account, they learned that the private room had been booked by 3 men. 2 of the men tried to make a move on the hostess, but the lobby manager shoved them away and even smashed an ashtray over Sungrak's head, leaving him bleeding profusely. Seeing this, Jang Chen felt his men had made enough noise and scolded Sungrak. Feeling bored, he wanted to leave this dull place and politely asked the lobby manager not to be angry. Unexpectedly, the lobby manager kept chattering non-stop, even going so far as to insult Jang Chen. This was something he couldn't tolerate. Jang Chen decided not to restrain his men anymore and let them handle it. As a result, Sungrak and Yang Tai pinned the lobby manager to the table and brutally chopped off his arm with an axe. The hostesses didn't know where they were from, but judged from their conversation that they weren't locals. Boss Huang was furious that his man had been chopped and wanted to send people to take revenge on the 3 men. But Seokdo wouldn't allow it. He told Boss Huang not to make any moves, stating the police would handle it. But how could Boss Huang swallow this insult? He ordered his men to secretly investigate the whereabouts of the 3. A bloody storm was about to engulf the residential area. By this time, Jang Chen had completely controlled the Venom Gang. The original second-in-command, Seung-woo, had to submit to Jang Chen under pressure. What Seung-woo didn't expect was that this mad dog of a man took a fancy to his wife at first sight. Jang Chen ordered the Venom Gang to gather wealth frantically for him, but Seung-woo told him the gang actually had a nemesis, the Cobra Gang. Thus, Jang Chen had his next target to tear apart. Yisu led his subordinates angrily down the street because his game center had been seized by the Venom Gang, and he heard the gang's leadership had changed. Yisu had his men confront the opponent's lackeys outside while he went in alone to talk. Sure enough, Jang Chen was leisurely eating sunflower seeds while waiting for Yisu. Jang Chen told Yisu directly that from now on, the game center business belonged to him. It was the first time Yisu had seen someone rob him so openly. He was about to pull a knife, but his subordinate from outside was dragged in. All his men outside had been taken out. Yisu lost his fire instantly. Knowing he was no match for Jang Chen and being more adaptable than the tragically deceased Sung Tai, he swallowed his pride and left with his men, as his life was more important. After dealing with the Cobra Gang, Jang Chen and his men became even more arrogant, demanding protection fees openly. If someone didn't want to pay, Sung-rak would kill them with an axe and force a lighter into their mouth, scaring Seung-woo, who stood by, into trembling. He had absolutely no guts to resist any of Jang Chen's unreasonable demands. Even though his beautiful wife was taken by him, he could only stand cowardly outside the door and wait. But a raging fire was burning in his heart. Meanwhile, Seokdo was having a headache. Although he had seen the faces of Jang Chen and the other 2 on the KTV monitor, he couldn't find a trace of the 3 men anywhere. Depressed, Seokdo took his team to a snack shop for hot pot. With them was a rookie detective, Hong Seok, who had just joined. Since Hong Seok was a university graduate, everyone took care of him, as few young people were willing to join the bitter and dangerous major crimes unit nowadays. Just as everyone was enjoying their meal, 3 men walked into the snack shop. Seokdo immediately felt these 3 looked very similar to the suspects in the monitor. At that moment, Jang Chen also turned his head and looked over. He observed that there were thick notebooks on their table and everyone was wearing durable sneakers, which were obvious characteristics of detectives working on big cases. Highly alert, Jang Chen got up to go to the bathroom. Hong Seok volunteered to follow and check, and Seokdo agreed but told him not to alert the enemy. He then asked the experienced Dong-gyun to ask the next table about the situation and Byung-sik to block the exit. An arrest net was set up by Seokdo in just a few words, but clearly Jang Chen and his men were also on guard. Just as the atmosphere became tense, Hong Seok suddenly screamed and rushed out from the back kitchen. It turned out Jang Chen had splashed a pot of boiling oil on his face. Jang Chen ran out immediately after. The restaurant turned into chaos. Because they were worried about Hong Seok's safety, they let Jang Chen and his men escape the snack shop. Seokdo chased them out, but it was the busiest time at the snack street with the most people. He lost sight of the 3 men instantly. He was extremely annoyed because not only did he fail to catch them, but his colleague was also injured. The next day they went to the hospital to visit Hong Seok. His fiancée was there too, but she looked unhappy and ignored Seokdo and the others. When colleagues asked when Hong Seok could return to the team, he looked troubled. Seokdo talked to Hong Seok alone. It turned out that after last night's incident, Hong Seok truly felt how dangerous being a frontline detective was. He apologized to Seokdo because, as he was getting married soon, he decided to leave the major crimes unit and transfer to the safer intelligence division. Seokdo really wanted to keep this talented rookie, but he couldn't say it. He knew this profession could cost one's life, and having been stabbed countless times himself, he couldn't in good conscience persuade Hong Seok to stay. Everyone wants to uphold justice, but not everyone can bear the price behind it. Ideals often bow to reality. That night, a depressed Seokdo drank alone. Meanwhile, the game center business Jang Chen grabbed was doing quite well. But suddenly things changed. A group of thugs rushed in with iron bars and smashed the place to pieces. Early the next morning, Sung-rak and Yang-tae arrived in a hurry. Seeing the game center in such a state, Sung-rak beat up the subordinate guarding the place until he finally confessed that it was the Cobra Gang who had smashed it. Seeing the Cobra Gang launch a sneak attack, Sung-rak was furious and wanted to go directly to their door. The cautious Yang-tae wanted to ask their boss Jang Chen for his opinion first, but Sung-rak wouldn't listen and insisted on going alone to fight. What they didn't know was that they were playing right into Yisu's scheme. He had long been prepared, waiting with a large group of men for them to arrive. But Yisu also didn't expect that Seokdo was watching him from behind. As soon as Sung-rak and Yang-tae arrived in a small alley, they were surrounded by thugs, front and back. Yisu had been waiting for them for a long time. However, Sung-rak feared nothing despite the numbers, pulling out a small knife to fight directly. At this moment, Seokdo arrived with his men. He chased away Yisu and his subordinates. Catching Sung-rak was police business, not Yisu's. Just after sending away a large group, a strong man arrived. Sung-rak knew at a glance this man was not to be trifled with, but he had to bite the bullet and attack. Although Sung-rak was fierce, his combat power and strength were several levels below Seokdo. No matter how he struck, Seokdo remained as steady as a boulder, immovable. Finally, Seokdo choked Sung-rak's neck and strangled him until he passed out. On the other side of the battlefield, two colleagues fought Yang-tae. Yang-tae's survival instinct exploded. He struggled free from the two policemen, pushed one down, ran into an old stairwell, turned a few corners, and vanished. Although one got away, the investigation had made progress. They had caught Sung-rak, one of the three. Sung-rak was a hardened criminal who claimed to know nothing, denied everything, and even insulted Seokdo. Captain John couldn't watch anymore. He proactively covered the camera with a cardboard box and took the translator outside, knowing Seokdo was about to turn up the heat. This time, Seokdo took out a taser, electrocuting Sung-rak until he fell to the ground shaking, stripped him, and gave him a beating. Even so, Sung-rak did not yield and suddenly stuck out his tongue, trying to bite it off to commit suicide. Seeing this, Seokdo quickly grabbed Sung-rak's jaw and stuffed a towel in his mouth. Meeting such a tough character gave Seokdo a headache, and the case stalled again. With his underling arrested, Jang Chen was never going to let it go, and all of this was thanks to Yisu. So on the day Yisu was celebrating his mother's birthday, while everyone was singing and dancing, Yang-tae walked into the middle of the hall with a fire extinguisher and started spraying everyone. The hall became chaotic and filled with smoke, ruining the banquet and causing guests to flee. One man walked against the flow of fleeing guests. It was the wolf, Jang Chen. He pulled out a sharp axe and slashed madly at the Cobra Gang members. His strikes were ruthless and fatal, sending blood and flesh flying. The enraged Yisu wasn't afraid and rushed up to fight him to the death. The two gang bosses fought fiercely, and for a moment, they were evenly matched. Yisu picked up an axe to chop Jang Chen but was flipped and pinned to the ground. Finally, a spike pierced Yisu's body. Jang Chen, the madman, had won again. Due to the frequent and intensifying vicious crimes, Seokdo and Captain John were called before the chief, who wanted them to hand over the case to the Metropolitan Investigation Unit. They had worked so hard to catch Sung-rak and were only halfway through. How could Seokdo just hand it over? An idea struck him, and he lied to the chief that the case had made a breakthrough and would be closed in 10 days, suggesting the chief could even give a speech on TV then. The last sentence moved the chief, and ignoring the gloomy face of the Metropolitan Unit captain, he gave Seokdo another 10 days. But catching Jang Chen in 10 days was easier said than done. The guy was elusive. Seokdo and Captain John could only sit on the floor and sigh. If Jang Chen went into hiding for a while, Seokdo would truly be out of options. But unexpectedly, just after the birthday party incident, this madman came out to do business again. Two bosses treated him to crayfish at a Chinese restaurant, offering 500 million won to take out boss Huang, who was hindering their business. But the domineering Jang Chen kicked one boss over. Offering 500 million was looking down on him. He wanted 1 billion won, or he would take out both bosses too. The two bosses had to agree reluctantly. Upstairs, Jang Chen was completely unaware that danger had already arrived. Yang-tae, who was wolfing down food downstairs, suddenly saw several cars arrive outside. Several thugs got out. He quickly ran upstairs to warn his boss. Yang Chen reacted fast, smashing through a second-floor window, jumping down, and getting into Seung-woo's car that had been waiting outside before speeding away. Although Yang-tae was injured, they were lucky enough to escape. But unexpectedly, Sung Woo, sitting aside, suddenly pulled out a sharp knife and stabbed at Jang Chen. It turned out Sung Woo, whose wife Jang Chen had seized, had held a grudge for a long time. He had been kidnapped by Boss Huang's men a few days earlier. Boss Huang, wanting revenge for his men, struck a deal with Sung Woo. And it was Sung Woo who had secretly tipped off Boss Huang about today's incident. Seung Woo wished for this man to die immediately, but he was no match for the mad dog and was stabbed in the stomach by Jang Chen instead. Furious at being ambushed, Jang Chen went back, found Sung Woo's wife, beat her, and finally got the answer he wanted. It was Boss Huang who partnered with Sung Woo to kill him. Knowing he couldn't stay here much longer, Jang Chen took Yang Tae and hid back in the junkyard. One of his capable assistants, Sung Rak, was caught, and both the police and Boss Huang's men were looking for him everywhere. Yang Chen urgently needed a large sum of money to leave for good. He had Yang Tai take the Venom Gang members to go door to door in the community demanding money more aggressively, smashing and looting if they didn't pay. The common people complained bitterly. Seokdo held a meeting with colleagues and neighbors. Emotions were high. The dark forces had seriously affected normal life, and no one dared to open their businesses. To catch these villains as soon as possible, Seokdo persuaded all merchants to secretly take photos of the gang next time they came to collect money. Only through police public cooperation could they catch these bastards in one fell swoop. So when the thugs came to collect money again, residents hid in corners and secretly took photos. All the photos of Yang Chen's subordinates committing crimes were aggregated by the Major Crimes Unit. The structure of the criminal group led by Jang Chen became clear, totaling nearly 30 people. How to catch this group all at once was a headache. At this time, Hong Seok, who had transferred to the intelligence division, came to visit with a large bag of food. He tipped Seokdo off with a piece of insider information. Sung Rak was going to be transferred out in a couple of days. Hearing this, Seokdo's mind started working again, and a bold plan to close the net emerged. 2 days later, Sung Rak was taken out of his cell for transfer. Seokdo tried to stop them from taking Sung Rak, but it was an order from above, and he had no authority to interfere, so he could only watch as Sung Rak was escorted into a police vehicle. On the way to the airport, the two policemen suddenly spoke to Sung Rak. When one policeman took out a cigarette, a package of contraband accidentally fell out. It turned out that the two police officers were corrupt, and this trip to Korea wasn't just about escorting Sung Rak. They were also looking to run some illicit side business on the way. Sung Rak felt like he saw a lifeline and quickly communicated that he could help them find a buyer. Driven by profit, as soon as they arrived at the airport and the Korean police car left, they boldly let Sung Rak go. Sung Rak thought he had luckily escaped, unaware that all of this was fake. It was a setup by Seokdo. The two of them were actually his informants, disguised as police officers to lure Jang Chen into a trap. But Jang Chen wasn't easily fooled. Seeing Sung Rak run back and hearing his story, he flipped the table in anger, thinking this idiot was dumber than dumb. But Sung Rak was even more arrogant, smoking a cigarette in front of him with confidence. Just as Jang Chen wanted to chop Sung Rak with an axe, Sung Rak handed him the package of contraband from the police. Jang Chen tasted it and found it was real. Now he really couldn't tell if it was true or false. Not long after, the informant's phone in the Major Crimes Unit rang. Sure enough, Sung Rak called to confirm their boss agreed to the transaction. It was finally time to close the net. At night, Jang Chen led a large group of men through the streets to the designated transaction location. At the location, the Major Crimes Unit had ambushed a large police force, waiting for Jang Chen to walk right into the trap. Jang Chen, accustomed to arrogance, led his main force across the main road, not dodging cars, acting like the king of the place. This would be his final moment of arrogance. Finally, the group arrived at the designated private room. Seokdo rushed in with his men, suppressing everyone in the room. But he didn't see Jang Chen. He had been tricked. Jang Chen didn't come. At this moment, Jang Chen had taken a group to Boss Huang's KTV. This was his real goal. He wanted to settle all scores, the 1 billion won and Sung Woo's betrayal. Hearing the news, Boss Huang came to the hallway. Seeing Jang Chen, he turned and fled in terror. Jang Chen wouldn't let Boss Huang go, pulling out a sharp knife to chase him, killing anyone who stood in his way. The two chased each other all the way to the main road. Boss Huang fled in a panic. To escape Jang Chen's pursuit, he recklessly cut across the heavy traffic, only to get his leg injured by a car that slammed on its brakes. He stumbled all the way to Seokdo's police station. Just as he was about to reach the entrance, Jang Chen caught up, tackled Boss Huang, and stabbed him in the thigh. Jang Chen stabbed Boss Huang repeatedly in a frenzy, itching to finish him off right there. In this critical moment, Hong Seok, who had just finished his shift, and the officer standing guard noticed the commotion. They blew their whistles and rushed over immediately. Jang Chen was just half a minute away from strangling Boss Huang to death, but seeing the police running over, he had no choice. He reluctantly left him behind, turned around, and fled. but his figure was recognized by Hong Seok. Wasn't this Jang Chen whom the major crimes unit had been trying to catch? He secretly followed Jang Chen all the way to the junkyard where he was hiding and called Seokdo. Seokdo told Hong Seok not to be a hero and to wait for him. Seeing Jang Chen carrying a bag of money and attempting to flee, Hong Seok couldn't hold back any longer. He had only one thought: he must stop him. He grabbed a gas canister and rushed out, blocking the car. Jang Chen slammed on the gas and drove at Hong Seok. At the critical moment, a car rammed Jang Chen's car away. Seokdo had arrived. To save Hong Seok, Seokdo injured his hand and his car door was jammed shut. Hong Seok tried to stop the fleeing Jang Chen but was beaten and kicked. Fortunately, more police cars arrived and saved his life. Young Tai was thrown by Seokdo with great force and passed out. Now, only the cornered beast Jang Chen was left. He wandered to the snack street and found a random snack shop to replenish his strength. In the shop were only an old man and his grandson. After drinking a glass of water, Jang Chen wanted to call CEO Guak for the 1 billion won. He agreed on a place with CEO Guak. Just as he wanted to find a notebook to write down the address, he found many photos in the notebook, photos of his Venom Gang subordinates bullying the neighbors. Jang Chen realized something was wrong. He couldn't stay here either. Seokdo and his colleagues chased all the way to the snack street, but found no trace of Jang Chen. Just as everyone was at a loss, Seokdo suddenly noticed a hole in the glass door of a shop. He rushed in to check and saw the grandfather and grandson lying in a pool of blood. The brutal Jang Chen didn't even spare the elderly and children. Panicked, Seokdo called an ambulance and personally put them on it, his anger almost breaking through the sky. Suppressing his rage, he answered a call from Boss Huang. Boss Huang knew that 2 business owners had paid 1 billion won to hire Jang Chen to kill him. He had just led his men to capture CEO Guak and forced him to arrange a meeting with Jang Chen, leaving the rest to Seokdo. Meanwhile, Jang Chen arrived at CEO Guak's car. He took a small package from him containing a bank book and a USB token. Jang Chen was furious. He wanted cash he could take away immediately, but after risking his death to get here, the goods were wrong. But CEO Guak had a solid reason. Banks were already closed at this hour, and there was no way to take 1 billion won in cash onto a plane. Jang Chen calmed down slightly. He opened the bank book, saw the 900 million won balance, and sighed helplessly. He got out of the car and ran toward the airport. He went to the airport restroom to wash up and changed into clean clothes. Just as he walked out holding his ticket, a voice rang out in the restroom. Seokdo had been waiting for him for a long time. It seemed this final battle was unavoidable. Normally, the mad dog-like Jang Chen terrified everyone, but in front of Seokdo, he was nothing. His combat power was several levels below Seokdo's. In the face of absolute power, all blustering madness is a paper tiger. Jang Chen used every method and means, but could only cause minor flesh wounds to Seokdo. He grabbed everything available as weapons, but Seokdo opposite him was like a towering, immovable mountain, sweeping everything away with iron fists. Jang Chen took the chance to pick up a glass shard and stabbed it into Seokdo's thigh. After a struggle, Seokdo finally exploded. He twisted Jang Chen's arm and snapped his wrist. Once outrageously arrogant, Jang Chen shattered another man's hand, and now the reckoning for everything he did has finally arrived. Seokdo dragged Jang Chen by the hand to the urinal and locked him firmly to the pipe. Knowing he had no way out, Jang Chen let out a final roar at Seokdo. Seokdo finally threw his ultimate punch. This punch was for those innocent people who were brutally harmed, and for the old man and child in the snack shop. It was finally all over. Seokdo walked out of the restroom scarred. He has punished another heinous criminal, but his story is far from over. There are still many more demons out there, waiting to be crushed by his iron fist of justice. Stay tuned for the next movie, The Roundup, where Seokdo will battle even more brutal bandits.